Mackenzie.
Lamar.
Obsession. Fun little movie. I think we both enjoyed it. We're going to get into...
Yeah, obsessed, perhaps.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've watched it twice already. But my question for you today was going to be, if you had a One Wish Willow, and we're doing like movie circumstances. So we'll get into the plot of this and how I think the One Wish Willow actually works. But let's pretend it's like a monkey's paw situation where no matter what you wish, it's going to be corrupted in some way. What would your wish be, do you think? And then how would like the powers that be end up corrupting or fucking that wish up somehow? Do you think if this were a movie?
Gosh. Well, you're asking a lot of me in a short period of time, is all I'm going to say. I feel like the wish itself would be something movie related, to be honest. It would be like, famous producer, director, or not even famous, but like successful, in filmmaking, film industry. Like,
you're saying you would want to have
me,
a role
like I want to be involved in the film industry in some way. It could be, film critic, it could be producer, it could be actor, whatever, something where I'm successfully involved in filmmaking in some way. And the ways in which that could go awry, holy shit. I'm sure that could be. I bet I'd get canceled for something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Okay.
Like,
it's funny you say that because the first thought I had was you make the wish, and the next morning they're like, "You're wanted down at the studio. Go," and you walk in, and he's like, "Hi, my name's Harvey Weinstein. Pleasure."
Right.
That's
right. Like, that's my first job, and that's how I, make it in the industry, and then I'm fucked. But I mean, yeah, I feel like it would go awry in a number of ways. But I'd probably say something, or somebody would dig up a terrible old Facebook status where I said something ridiculous. I don't know, something like that. What about you?
I feel as though like my head went in a bunch of different directions. I don't want to. Like, I probably would wish for something beyond myself, like, yeah, world peace and all that. But then maybe the Earth gets blown up by aliens if you wish for world peace. I don't know. But I actually went more selfish. And I said, I would wish very specifically that I want to be the owner of Jurassic Park, the real Jurassic Park. And I specifically don't want any of the bad stuff that happened in any of the movies to take place. I just want it to be a park that operates, the way it's supposed to. And the dinosaurs never escape and nobody gets eaten. I feel like the way that would be corrupted is after a couple of years, there'd be a bunch of knockoff Jurassic Parks with like their own little, like it'd be like zoos or aquariums. And my business would become downtrodden and start struggling. And we'd have to do like 2-for-1 Coke can weekends or something. And eventually I would just get bought by private equity and they would like drain my entire company and I'd die miserable and alone. So.
And then they'd ruin it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That feels like weirdly possible. Like a little too real, so
yeah. Jurassic Park was never meant to succeed, guys. I feel like the novelty would have worn off eventually.
I love that you thought of it though as like, I'm trying to get rid of all the loopholes and yet
it's still,
and yet I'm still fucked. So yeah, I guess that's how this goes. We'll get into some spoiler territory, but it definitely doesn't work out here for sure.
It wouldn't be a very interesting movie if it did, I think. It'd be a rom-com.
That's true.
A really fucked up rom-com, but still.
Oh, and this is the opposite of that. All right, let's roll. Let's talk not a rom-com.
Yeah.
Welcome back to We Drink and We Watch Things. I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Lamar.
And Summer Blockbuster Month continues. We are covering, again, with the horrors this summer. They are going and going. We are on to Obsession.
Yeah, horror fans are eating good this year, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm having a good time, but I'm also a little bit over it at the same time. So I'm excited for this one to wrap up our horror discussions. But to get us through this, obviously we made a lovely cocktail. So what are we drinking this week?
Yeah, so we are drinking the One Wish Willow, obviously a drink that you crafted. This is 1.5 ounces of mezcal, a 1/2 ounce of strawberry puree, 0.75 ounces of pomegranate juice, 0.25 ounces of pomegranate liqueur. Big difference there. Make sure you get the proportions right. 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice, and you'll just put that all into a shaker with a bunch of crushed ice, not full cubed ice. And then instead of fine straining it, we're just dump the whole goddamn thing in here because we want it red, we want it bloody, we want it messy.
All right.
Ooh,
Cheers.
you got like black. That's awesome. Cheers.
I did some black blood for us today.
I have to admit, Mackenzie, though, I didn't have strawberry puree, so I had to sub your favorite Prince song in place. Raspberry puree.
You're the puree king. I would have assumed you would have had some.
We must have finished it like a few months ago because we do make a fair amount of drinks with it, and I just forgot to buy more, so apologies. But it's still really good.
Well, also really funnily, as we've been prepping to record, my drink has started condensating. Look at the drip on the blood. Like,
that's pretty badass. Honestly, it's pretty badass. Yeah.
It looks kind of cool, right? Like,
yeah. Did you take a picture of that one for the socials? I feel like that one.
I did pre-drip, but now I want the condensating drip. So, you guys will see how it has progressed. I'll share it with you on the socials. The socials. All right, kids. Let's do some basics and get into the fun stuff. This is one that everybody is talking about, so I'm sure you're excited to hear our take, obviously. Obsession came out this year, 2026. I do believe it was screened for the first time last year, but its official release was this year. This is an 8 out of 10 on IMDb, 94% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and 94% from audiences. The director and writer here is Curry Barker, who is basically a noob. A la Backrooms we talked about last week, same type of thing. They haven't done a ton of work yet. He has done Milk and Cereal, was his prior feature. He released that on YouTube, produced it for $800, fucking wild. And then it just went nuts. So here he is again with like a super low budget and just blowing it out of the water in terms of this film. So he's starting off strong. 2 for 2, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, he came like it's this weird trend in horror recently where a lot of comedic folks, whether they are from like a comedy troupe like Zach Kreger, who did Weapons, he was part of Whitest Kids You Know. You have Curry Barker here, who has his own like web series. It's on Instagram, it's on YouTube. You can look it up. And I believe the guy that plays Ian is part of that group because I think I've seen their skits and stuff together. And there's one more who I am forgetting. I guess you could technically say John Krasinski. He did a lot of time on The Office, primarily doing comedies, and then he went and made A Quiet Place. And I feel like there's one more I'm forgetting, so I apologize for whoever that is. But yeah,
I won't tell them. I also don't know who it is either, so that helps.
Turns out that funny people can make some pretty good horror movies, I guess.
I guess funny people are into horror. Because didn't you tell me one time that horror is like one of the reasons that people like horror is it's like a release. It's like a cortisol release to watch it, So maybe it's how funny people decompress. And then they go make horror movies. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little cathartic. I mean, you've been in a movie theater where there's a scary movie and sometimes a thing happens and you get like almost an audience laugh of relief afterward. I think it is a very like group shared experience, and there is comedy to be found in horror, even if it's not intentional. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so we've got a relatively green cast and crew here that we're going to talk through. Not like totally unknown, but haven't done a ton of stuff.
I didn't write down anything for any of them. Like no other movies, no fun facts because they're newbies. Yeah.
They're pretty new. Yeah. We have Michael Johnston playing Baron, aka Bear. He had done a film that I don't know anything about called Slash. Looks relatively unknown. And then he was in the Teen Wolf reboot that I didn't see. So I think it's, he's pretty green, but he has done a couple small things. And then we have Inde Navarrette, who plays Nikki Freeman. This is a fucking breakout. She has technically done other things before. She was in Superman and Lois, and then Wander Darkly, which I don't know anything about. And then apparently was a bit more well known for her Twitch streaming that she was doing to make money while walking dogs. So this is her first like major feature, and she again crushes it, breaks out in this role for sure.
Yeah, I think she was struggling a bit early in her career, and so yeah, took up those other jobs to kind of bridge the gap, and stumbled into this. And I mean, she fucking earned it. And I think I said
Yeah.
this last week in the closer. I am 90% sure this girl's going to win an Oscar in the next, well, maybe at least be nominated for an Oscar in the next 5 to 10 years. Then
Yeah, I would assume so, assuming she gets more roles. I would be shocked if it would be this, even though I do think it's a worthy performance. It's just horror doesn't get nominated for shit, which is silly. But who knows? Maybe this will change things. Horror's
I mean, last year had a little
having a
momentum.
moment.
I think Sinners was
Yeah.
a big turnaround, so we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then we also have Cooper Tomlinson, who you mentioned. He plays Ian. And yes, he has worked with Curry Barker before. He did Milk and Cereal with him. And then he's also been on I haven't seen this series, but Dutton Ranch, which is a continuation of Yellowstone. And that was pretty recent. So. And then we also have Megan Lawless, who plays Sarah. She is most well known, more than likely, for The Hate You Give, which apparently was really good. And I actually never saw it, and it has been on my list for a long time. So now I need to go watch it.
I read the book when I was a middle school teacher.
Did you?
Yeah, I read the book, but I didn't see the movie. But the book was
it
pretty
good?
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. All right, and then finally we have Andy Richter-ish, like ancillary to everything.
Didn't realize it was him the first time I saw the movie. Did not even realize
like
it.
Kind of there. You don't really notice him. I definitely noticed him on the second watch, but yeah, it didn't really register the first watch. He plays Carter, Sarah's dad. Obviously we know him from Conan and Elf, and the one that I didn't know I knew him from was Marcel the Shell, which if you've never seen Marcel the Shell with shoes on, then you need to see it, because that shit is fucking adorable and it is so good.
It's very cute. Both the YouTube series and the movie are great. Yeah,
it's really good. Anyways, okay. All right, quick plot
one of the
summary.
funniest, like really quick before you get there, one of the funniest just in relation to Andy Richter's character was, I think it was on Letterboxd reviews, or maybe it was on a Reddit thread, but I wish I could give credit to the person that said this is not an original joke, but somebody said, what the fuck economy is this town in that this tiny mom and pop electronics shop has 4 employees working at the same time?
Truly, like, it is a deeply staffed store, and you also never actually see it busy. You just hear them walk out and say, oh, that was such a rough shift or whatever, and you're like, was it? Like, this is wild. Anyways, all right, quick plot summary, and then we'll get into some more of the good stuff. So after breaking the mysterious One Wish Willow to win his crush's heart, a hopeless romantic finds himself getting exactly what he asked for, but he soon discovers that some desires come at a dark and sinister price. Dun, dun, dun.
Hopeless romantic, you say? You want to throw in a spoiler warning? I got shit to say.
I have so much shit to say. Let's fucking go. All right, turn around, kids. Don't drown. It's spoiler time. He's not a hopeless romantic. He's actually a piece of shit.
Yeah, I think it's established, and I don't think it's subtle at all. Like, he is the villain of this story, and it gets
him and
pretty obvious
Ian
near
both
the end,
are
but
actually the villains of this story, I would say. And I was telling somebody literally last night, I was at book club and I turned to them, we were talking about this movie and it being a horror, and I was like, this movie is a horror because the men in it are a horror. Like, they are horrible. They are the horror.
I'm sure we're going to complain a ton about Bear today, but I am curious when you say Ian, because to me, you can say he's a piece of shit because he's sleeping with, a friend of his, casual sex. Why is it?
I think Friends with Benefits is fine. Have a great time. It was how he was manipulating the rest of this scenario and not being honest once there was clearly something really wrong here.
True.
And he sort of keeps trying to play both sides. And he's sort of like, he's literally, calling Bear and being like, no, don't call her. I just talked to her. And there are things wrong with that. And I think it's, partially to preserve his own, whatever relationship he has with her, like whatever physical relationship he has with her. But instead of saying like, let's get her help and let's figure this out, he's just like, don't invite her to game night. If everything's normal in your relationship, she shouldn't be coming. She should be able to let you have a boys' night, and I'm still going to invite these other people. Like, it was a weird reaction to, if this is somebody you actually care about and are friends with, and you think something's truly wrong, disinviting her from a thing doesn't solve the problem, And I just think he's kind of manipulative from the beginning, and he is actually the instigator for the moment that Baron doesn't play the honest card with with her to begin with. Like, he's shaming him from the very beginning in the diner and saying, like, that is some bullshit. Don't say that. In fact, it is the most clear, it is the most respectful that he is the entire film. And he talks him out of that, which sets half this shit in motion. So I think he's problematic in his own ways, but not the villain, but I think he's not great.
He's not a great guy. I don't think he's like a villain, because I think he has not great intentions, but at least for Nikki, I think he does care about her. I think, you know, when you say he's not doing what is best for her when he's going through Bear, I think that is kind of spelled out in the story of, I believe Nikki's isolated herself from the rest. She hasn't talked to anyone else basically except for Bear, and she's so focused on him. So I would think that like he can't really get to Nikki. So maybe he's using this.
But he did talk to Nikki. He even calls her after she's already had the transition and she's being weird. He does talk to her, and then he tries to explain to Bear that actually she's fine. It's not weird. And she talks to Sarah. So, like, I don't know what iteration.
That's near the beginning, though, right? That's near the very beginning. I feel like she gets more fucked up as the movie continues.
Yes. Her talking to Ian is towards the beginning after her transition, whatever we would call it. And then Sarah, she talks to the night of the party, where she's like, well, Sarah told me she's going, you know? And who knows if Sarah instigated that or what, but she's not completely unreachable is what I'm saying. If somebody reached out to her, she's engaging with it. You can touch on that. And I just still think that him talking him out of just being honest and clear with their friend is selfish to begin with, and is the thing that makes him second guess telling her in a healthy and normal way, basically.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I would still say Bear's the primary villain, but like we can agree on that. I think for you, like, we don't have to get into ratings yet, but like, where did this hit as far as your expectations? Did you have this built up for you before you went and saw it, or did you see it one of the first days it was out? And what was like your reaction after going through it the first time?
I saw it pretty early on. It was not the first day, because I remember I was traveling. And so I saw it pretty early on, but not immediately, but not before the expectations were high, I guess is what I would say. Like it was being pretty amped up across the board. People were saying how great it was. Obviously it had gotten some festival attention before, so I had already sort of heard of it anyway. So I went into it feeling like it was going to be really good, but I will say I sort of tempered that with, I don't love horror, right? Like, this is not my go-to. I'm not going to have as good a time as everybody else. And, that's kind of where it landed, where for me, again, we're not going to go into ratings right now, but I think this is a good film. I want to preface the whole thing with, I think this is a good film. I think it's like all around very well made, very well performed, all these things. But I'm just not as, pun not intended, as obsessed with it as everybody else is. Like, and I think that is by virtue of horror is just not my favorite genre. It's not because it's not a good film,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was curious about that, because I went in and it had already been built up for me. And what's funny is they were advertising it at Draft House as a Draft House Recommends title. And like, not like, I'm going to say this every time, not a huge fan of Draft House at the moment, but, usually when they do these recommends,
but we trust their recommends.
Yeah, like typically they end up being pretty. Some of my like not favorite films, but some really fucking good films have come through that title or moniker. And I saw the trailer for this, and I just did not think it was going to be anything special. I said, okay, it's kind of a monkey's paw situation. The guy makes a wish. The girl's going to stalk him. Eventually she's going to kill him. That's this, like, I didn't expect this.
This is the formula.
Yeah. I didn't expect it to surprise me. And I just think the reason it's like, to me, is great is because I've seen so much horror. And I think this takes different tropes and really subverts what you're expecting. Just to give an example, the mirror at the beginning, when he first, like, it's just a horror staple. There's a broken mirror that somebody keeps pushing because it's broken. Eventually there's going to be a scare because they're going to push the mirror and there's going to be something behind them in the mirror. They never do that. And he does it like and every time as a horror fan, you're on edge and just nothing comes of it. And I think eventually there's like a big knock on the door during it, but they never play that out. And it's like, okay, it's like in an action movie, if like Chekhov's gun didn't actually get used, it's like, oh, I thought that would get used. And it's not a disappointment for me, I guess.
That's so funny. I didn't even notice that. I didn't even register that. I I'm just used to things not scaring me, so I'm not waiting for them to scare me, I guess is maybe the best way to put it. But I do think it was really, it subverts a lot of things for people, and I think that's why it's so popular. I mean, it has a really, again, we said at the top, has a really low budget. It had a 750K budget ballpark. Like he has said multiple times it's less than $1 million, and people assume around 750. It at the moment has made 406 million, and it is still in theaters. So it's also streaming for rent, but it is, still in theaters and you can still go watch it. So I doubt it tops out
Yeah.
there.
It's
It's
the
crushing it.
third highest grossing original horror film of all time. Like it's only behind
Yeah.
Sixth Sense and Signs. Oh, we got some storms in Austin, Texas today.
I was gonna
We
say
can,
you
we can
might
keep
hear
going.
some
No,
you
it's
might
okay.
hear some thunder. It's also like kind of on theme. We're talking
Yeah,
like
spooky
horror.
stuff.
We're
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
It's like you say M. Night Shyamalan's movies and the weather will appear. But yeah, so it's behind that. I think It is the number one, but that's obviously remake based on a novel. So anyway, all that to say, like, do you know what the scariest scare of this film was for me the first time I watched it?
What?
The scariest part of the entire movie, the first time I watched it, was when they are first kissing in bed for the first time. And
And she jumps
then
back.
and Nikki wakes up within this body, and really what she's doing, like, you realize it after the fact, she's not she's not inside her body for part of this, and then she gets back, snaps back into it, goes what the fuck, but the score, like the drop, makes it seem horrifying. So the first time I was watching this, I was imagining like, oh, she's seeing something terrible in front of her. Like it's not just Bear, like there's some weird demon or something's controlling the. It turns out she's just freaking out because she's like, why the fuck am I kissing Bear? But because of that sound drop and it comes out of nowhere, that was like my favorite jump scare of the whole film, honestly.
It's a really good one. I mean, I think it's so fitting, it's so appropriate. I've said before on the pod, I don't like jump scares for the sake of jump scares, also because typically they don't get to me. So I'm like, well, that was stupid. But this is one that it has an impact because you are wondering what just happened, what did she see, what's going on here. It's very purposeful. Like I like that it is purposeful. And funnily enough, she did that in one take. Curry Barker was interviewed and said that she was very reserved in the initial rehearsals. Like she was, rehearsing, at a lower level. And then they go into that scene and he's actually kind of curious. It's like one of the first things they film. And he was saying he was curious how it was going to do, like how she was going to perform on camera. And he turned to his, I think it was his DP while it was after that was taken. And he turned to them and said, now we've got a movie. Like that was the take that convinced him. They didn't take it more than once. And she just like, I think that's very telling because if you watch that scene again, she is just giving 100%, like from a physicality, from a reaction standpoint. And she just did that right out of the gate. So I think it's really, it's a great moment. It didn't scare me, but it is a great moment.
Let's count, guys, how many times Mackenzie reminds us she can't get scared by horror movies. Everybody
It's
out
not
there.
that. It's I want it to. Like I want to be scared by it, and maybe I would like have a better time if it did. Like I would be more like surprised by it, I guess is the best way to say it. Like I think I would maybe be more surprised and be like, oh shit, that like did that,
Yeah,
I don't know.
This was the first movie since I think Hereditary was probably the last one that I was watching in theaters and legitimately was like on edge, like kind of gripping my seat. And like this was the first horror movie I remember ever. Like I had goosebumps multiple times and it was at different points in the movie, but I was just like,
in this movie?
Yeah, it was just such a unique level of like, I'm having fun watching this because I don't know what's going to happen next. And the performances are so good and there's humor in this. And it's unsettling, but there's also that first scare sets you up as like, okay, there can be something happening at any given time. You're never really safe in this because that came out of nowhere. So that's what I dug about it. But to your point, Inde Navarrette is just, she flips a fucking switch. As soon as that One Wish Willow breaks in half, I think that shot of her on the porch, that silhouette as she's back at the front door is going to be like an icon of horror in like 10 years.
You're psychic. I literally was about to say that because I was like, one of my main notes is some of the things that are most interesting in this film to me are the shots, and specifically the really dark shots. There's multiple that
Yeah.
happens, and the porch one, you're right, is incredible because she is on the porch in the dark. Her eyes are basically glowing. Her necklace is the only other thing that you sort of see reflect any light. And it gives her this very eerie effect because it's also the quietest, I think, up to this point you've heard her. Like, she's very soft spoken in this moment, and she feels restrained, which I think is another indicator, of course, that this isn't our like regular Nikki. There's not this intonation. There's not even there's just not levels to her. And it makes her really eerie. But I was reading about it and it got even more interesting because that was actually the result of budget constraints. This was, they didn't have enough to add like significant extra lighting in a lot of these scenes. So they fully committed to the bit, did not add additional lighting to that front porch. And they painted her eyelids and made it actually darker. And
yeah,
so
I saw
she
like
is,
an image of her in
aged
the
and
makeup.
dark.
Yeah, her cheekbones are like emphasis. She looks 40 years older than she is in
Right.
some of those images. Yeah.
Right. And that's the effect that we see. We don't see the aging as much in the camera, but like,
But in the shadow, yeah.
In the shadow, like that's how the effect comes through, and it's just really powerful. And it's just subtle stuff. One of my favorite things about this movie is that I am so impressed with how they stretched this budget creatively, and things that sound, when you read about them, very cheap, or like, how did that result in something good? You rewatch it and you go like, this looks just as good as if they did this with 10 million more dollars. Like, he's shooting this so professionally and being so creative at various points. And well, I'm sure we'll talk about more of them later, where I was like, holy shit, that probably cost you $25 and it looks like a $10 million film. You know what I mean? In terms of quality. So
yeah, they get through this with really only having to have 2 kills in the entire movie, but the whole thing is very like thrilling and compelling and off-putting, and you are like glued to the edge of your seat, and we really only get 2 dead bodies in the last like 15-20 minutes of the movie. But Sarah's death is like one of my favorite kills that I've seen in horror in like a decade. I think it's just so brutal, and I know it looks a little silly because it's kind of like repetitive, and I think Janelle actually said like it looked almost like a dummy was pinging off of the brick, but I think that made it look cooler actually, as her head's just like hitting this brick over and over and over again.
Yeah, it is a dummy. There's 2 dummies that were used for that scene, but the more interesting part about that scene to me is they couldn't afford a stunt double, again, budget, for the head smash into the glass. So she is wearing a helmet with hair on it, and she smashes her head into the glass of the car window. And that was the third and final take that they could do. The production team had accidentally broken the first one. The second one got messed up. They like messed up the take because of something else. I can't remember what the issue was. And then that last one was it. And she nailed it on that last one. And if you rewatch it, you kind of can't tell. That's what I'm saying. Like, even though you just read about it, you're watching for it. Yes, there's like a lot of hair, but you don't see the helmet. You can't tell that it's this fake art glass. Like, it's very convincing to me for such a simple solution. I
think part of it comes from, they use speed in this a lot. They speed things up, they slow things down, they put things in reverse. Sometimes I will say that got a little wonky for me. Like, it's a little unsettling, a little uncanny valley of like, that's not how people are supposed to move. Like, Weapons did some of that too, of like, people don't walk like this.
Yeah.
But in that scene, I think that was what I would attribute it to, is either they sped it up a little bit, or they just shot it so fucking well and cut it so well that really you're on edge for that whole sequence. This ends poorly. Like, this girl was just at this, truth or dare, like Jenga dare game, and saw what happened, and then is like, hey, let's meet up alone in the park away from your girlfriend who is fucking insane right now.
Who's a psychopath, yeah.
It's going to go poorly, and you were just on edge through that whole conversation of like, which side is she going to jump in? Like, something's going to happen. And I did not expect her to literally it's like a 1-second shot of you see her and she hits the glass.
She just comes out of nowhere.
And they cut to Bear's reaction, and when they cut back, her head is being smashed into the thing. It's just really well edited and shot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, like, that is maybe the scene that I go to when I think about how professionally shot this movie feels. You know, this movie feels so consistent and well. I mean, obviously it's professionally done, but I just mean for a young filmmaker, this is so smooth and clean. And he was trying to keep shots for as long as possible. Like he wasn't doing full-blown wonders, but he was trying to cut as little as possible. And he was saying that ended up causing issues with coverage and things like that sometimes. But on the whole, you can't tell. Like some of the challenges he's talked about with making it, I don't
Right.
think they come through. I wouldn't have noticed had he not said that, you know? And I think that scene's really powerful. You see, you know, you mentioned Bear's reaction. I think that's really good. Like, you know, yes, he's the villain, but like he plays this so well. I think you can completely relate to the reactions that he's having in these moments where like, well, what can you do? He's terrified. Like he can't fuck with her either, you
I
know?
had two friends, one male, one female, after this say they walk separately, like not even in the same conversation, but they said, I walked out of this movie just having a huge crush on Michael Johnston, who plays Bear. And I'm like, how? He's such a piece of
How?
shit character, but I guess they think he's like adorable because of that. Like, I don't
I
know,
find him
dude. Yeah.
0% adorable. I came out of this not finding him adorable. Like the person is adorable, sure.
Yeah, when you see him in interviews, he looks a lot less disheveled and greasy and grimy than
Right.
he is in this for sure. Yeah.
No, he looks like a fucking, I don't know. He looks
Like a
like a
burnout. He looks like a
he's
burnout.
kind of a burnout and he's just the like prototypical quote unquote nice guy who's actually not a nice guy, right? Like, and that's one of the things I want to spend a lot of time on, right? Like, why is he the villain? And some people, I think most people get that, but if you don't get that, there is a fundamental and overarching problem here surrounding consent. And this man doesn't care. He doesn't care. He knows exactly what he has done. Like, no, he didn't mean for that to happen. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that when he snapped the willow, he thought this was how it would go. Although I still think that was a bitch move. Like, she literally gave you the opening to ask her. And you bitched out. You were cowardly about it. So then you cop out and you make this wish. Fine. Maybe it was a moment of desperation. And that moment in and of itself wasn't villainous. Every moment after it was,
Yeah.
because you know what you did, you see the changes, you know that's not her. And he ignores so many little signs that it's not her. The jump back, like she's having these physicality differences, she's moving wildly different, she is sleeping weird and acting weird and coming in and out of consciousness. She's making him a lunch with a Polaroid of them that says, not me. That's not, he doesn't even look twice at that. Like he ignores that because he doesn't want to admit it or see it or deal with it. And there's all kinds of other little things, but at the high level, oh, the sleeping pills. The sleeping pills. He's putting her to sleep to
Wait,
get her under control.
I didn't even catch that. I've watched the movie twice. When does he give her the sleeping pills?
You notice it because he's in the car with Sarah.
Uh-huh.
And she is stressed and he says to her, they're joking about messing with her dad or whatever, and he says, I've got sleeping pills in my pocket right now, we can do it right now. He has given her sleeping pills at home to get her to go to sleep, and that is when real Nikki comes out and begs him to set her free.
That's first off, like, okay, I didn't pick up on like I remember that line about him having sleeping pills in his pocket. I didn't correlate that like that's how he actually got this entity to kind of sleep. But to your point of like his cowardice threat, first off, you skipped by the entire happy time of their relate, the 500 days of summer montage that we get. That was great, very adorable. But I like how you said the signs, right? I remember the first time watching this. She does something weird at night. It's one of the nighttime scenes. Then the next day she's like reading and he walks in.
It's
and I
upside
was
down.
like, oh, she's doing something like normal. Like, that's weird to throw this in. I didn't even pick up on what you just said. And then I went home afterward and somebody was like, did anybody notice the book was upside down? Fucking I didn't. But that's hilarious now that I think about it. If she's just pretending, it's like this demon is learning to inhabit a human body almost, but can't help but just be obsessed and want to be with Bear the whole time.
Well, I didn't think she could be doing something normal, which is the only reason I even looked at the book, because I was like, yeah, this weird demon or entity or whatever is in her, like, is not going to sit there and read a fucking book, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's upside down. And I just think there's so many little signs about her that he gets clues for, but then he also calls the helpline, which is Curry Barker on the other end, funnily enough. But he calls and he asks him if he wants to speak to her, and she is screaming.
Yeah,
And
that's
he hangs
near,
up.
Yeah.
He hangs up and he goes back inside and he brings her to the party and he just fucking pretends. He is a coward of the highest order and he thinks he is a good guy. He thinks he's a good guy. He says earlier to her, when the jump back scene that you really like, and he says, you made me feel like, what the fuck, Nikki? You made me feel like I did something you didn't want. This whole thing is something that she didn't want, and you fucking know that.
I think they try to, I think on the first watch, they try to almost like sugarcoat it a little, so you doubt that what you're talking about a little bit longer when she has the cup. But even then, you know that something is up when she's saying like, no, you did. I'm not saying you took advantage of me. I'm saying like, well, it's not a big deal. Da da da. Like they have her say that line, but you know she doesn't mean it. Again, it's this like weird entity or just hollow version of her that's in there and is just trying to say the right things at the right time. And I think the actress does a great job of that, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, her physicality, like we've covered on a little bit of it. I mean, I will say the really weird movements are done by a dancer, not her. But on the whole, like the really dark ones in the bedroom and some of that. But on the whole, her physicality and facial expressions that shift as this entity is gaining and losing control here and there. And then as it has a much stronger control later, you know, it stiffens her, right? Like it's sharp. She's got sharper expressions and sharper edges, and she's more desperate. Like there's a tonality shift, there's a physicality shift. Like she does really incredible work with these and fully commits to these really intense scenes, like in the restaurant, you know, where she like goes from the no.
We'll talk about that of like the signs that he's skipping by. He said, he calls her out on, you kind of lied to me and said this thing about your dad. And she freaks out and basically says, okay, so are you saying that if that was a lie that you don't want to be with me? And he's like, no, I kind of like, he's admitting it. And then they go home and have sex. So like none of that meant anything to him.
That one is a fun one to me because I think she very subtly plays that first no is the real Nikki getting through for a second, and then she's taking control of that and like warping it and twisting it, and that's where the no's get higher and higher pitch and she stands up and she gets more intense and all of that. And so like she just plays all of that so well, and I think they did a good job of feminizing her once she becomes like Nikki 2.0, right? Like you can tell like she's very casual, not like she's beautiful girl, but she is very casual in the first iteration of herself. She's got jeans and shorts and like whatever on, right? And then once she's in love with him and dating him and she shows up on the porch in a cute little dress, and then everything else is like outfits, right? It's like date outfits and like looking pretty and being made up for him. And it just gives, I think, more credence to that of her being this other version, this version that is not the Nikki that they know, you know?
1,000%. I'm going backward because I feel like we haven't shit on Bear enough.
Let's shit on Bear. I am so ready to shit on Bear. Let's go.
Because you've talked about sort of how he glosses over all these obvious things. I want to talk about the cat at the beginning because we are meant to feel bad for him. I think when you first watch this, oh my God, this guy, like we're both animal lovers. You think, oh my God, this guy's cat died, like poor guy.
Well, and his grandma had just died, obviously, too.
Yeah, so you're meant to be sympathetic for him.
Sure.
And he's like, how did you get into these pills? Da 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 da. And then the more I think about it, you realize the bathroom cabinet was broken. The cat didn't break the bathroom cabinet. So my thought is like, the cabinet was already broken. He just left the bathroom door open and the cat got into the pills. It's not as though the cat was like, I'm going to break your cabinet. Like maybe it opened it, but it wouldn't have broken it. So it's like, that was kind of his fault already. And he just sort of, and then he sort of puts it in the background and is like, I'm just going to push this into like the back corner and not deal with this because I want to go hang out with Nikki tonight. Like that is just such a shitty moment and such a shitty start to that character. And then to kind of bookend it, he cops out multiple times at the end. You talked about when he goes to leave and the real Nikki, you know, says, kill me. And
Yep.
she says, like, you're
And
not
he
with
still
me.
just fucking leaves.
Well, he says that line of, would it be so bad to be with me? Like,
I
that
know.
is when he is ultimate, like, fucking villain. There's no redemption for you, sir.
No redemption. No redemption.
This is
Can't wait
all
to see
about
you
what he
die. Like,
wants. Yeah.
I am guaranteed by this horror film that you're gonna die, and I can't fucking wait. That was like the moment for me where I was like, cool, I hope it's brutal. Let's fucking go. Because it was just, like you said, he is fully committing there. It's like he has flipped this around to become, well, like, what's so bad about me? You know, like, he's butthurt. Like, he's not the one who has been repeatedly violated by this choice. And she also just told him that, right? If he was unclear for any reason, which I contend he shouldn't be, but if he was unclear that he had violated her consent here in some way, she just told him that. He's like, what, you know, is it so bad to be with me? And she says, I've never been with you, Bear. Mm-hmm. That is the moment where you go, you know what? I have to find a way to undo this wish, whatever way that might be. Right. And he doesn't internalize that at all. He walks the fuck away like the coward we keep seeing him be. And it's so disappointing and heartbreaking for her. And I think the thing that I caught on the second watch that I didn't the first watch was he walks out while she's still crying after him, mm-hmm. you know, but she's trying not to wake up this entity. Right. So that's why she's been whispering. But then at that point, she's desperate. You know, she's truly desperate. He's not listening to her. He's walking out. She's continuing to yell. And for me, it's yet another reason why she comes back out. And arguably, it's his fault that Sarah dies, because he abandons Nikki, who is screaming after him. And would that other entity have even woken up and actually caught him and gone after him and killed Sarah? I would contend no. Yeah, and so I'm like, this is a chain of events that you fucking caused.
Yeah, that's a good call. And I think, you know, with how the story plays out, we get another fucking cop out at the end where they, you know, I wanted to say, when you mentioned the phone call earlier, that phone call itself, we talk about comedy and horror. It's hilarious until it's not. There's a lot of really good comedy from Curry Barker in that scene of just like, he sounds like the stoner dude that's like the least helpful customer service guy of all time. But when that scream happens, he's like, you want to talk to her? And it just fades into that scream. That was like horrifying for me to hear of like, what is she experiencing in that moment? You know?
And that was unexpected. That's one of the things I do think like surprised me, which I did like, which was, because of his tone, like his funny, you know, customer service tone, you don't think he even really knows this guy and his wish. At least for me, you're like, he's just anonymous, like whatever, your wish sucks, like sorry, bye. Except he knows exactly who's calling him and he knows exactly who he's talking about, and he can grab her and you can hear her scream. And so like that, it adds an extra layer of eeriness because he's watching it happen too. This other anonymous voice on the other end of the phone, you know,
somehow aware of all these things that are happening. Yeah.
Right. And has that tone to it, right? It has this customer service, like, I can't do anything about any of this tone, to this, and who knows what else other crazy wishes are out there. And like that to me is more terrifying.
Which too. Like I feel like I keep jumping around because I really do enjoy this movie, and there's like three things I want to talk about at once. But really quick to touch on that, I love horror because I feel like you can get away in this genre compared to other genres of you don't have to explain everything. You know, there doesn't have to be an answer to everything. And the lore in this, I just like that it's a toy that actually fucking works. It grants wishes. Okay. Who knows how it got here? Who knows why there's a guy on the service line?
Chucky doll worked, but like it was real bad. I just, you know.
But like we talked about this in the intro. This is not just a Corrupt-A-Wish toy, because there are people in this story who get their wishes and are very happy. I wish for $1 billion. There it is. That has nothing to do with the fact that he gets shot a couple minutes later.
I was going to say, but I feel like it's a little monkey's paw-ish, like you said, because if he didn't get shot, like what else would happen? Like something, I just think something.
Well, the guy in the store, so the shop owner, who one of the best comedic moments.
People come back and complain.
Yeah, but the one shop owner does say, The male, I guess he might not be the owner. I thought
Yeah,
he said
he's
I was
funny.
the
You
owner,
can't
but
come in
like,
here with that energy. Like,
yeah, but he
so-
says, I already got my wish. Like, he's done it. He seems content and happy.
I
So
didn't
I feel
register
like,
that.
and then the $1 billion thing, if he hadn't gone to check on them, I feel like it's literally, it's giving you what you ask for, but our main character wished for his thing in the worst possible fucking way.
I feel like that would have gone awry either way, to be honest. But I agree with you though. I don't think they would have all necessarily. I think that in this universe that Curry Barker is creating, he's like, there's a possibility if you frame it appropriately that this could have been fine. It's just this guy who's cowardly and selfish and a little bitch, honestly, did it wrong. And I think what's telling to me about that too is like, there to me is a hint there that she was interested in him, like at the car when she says like, do you like me? Now's the time to tell me. And they actually apparently had her, I was kind of thinking that when I was watching it, like, I think that I don't think she's like adamant that she likes him, but I think she wants to know if he likes her. It's one of those like, if you like me, maybe I'll consider it kind of feelings, right? And that's his opportunity to tell her so she can think about it and decide how she feels about it. And the way that they shot that was they had her do multiple takes where she is interested in him and she wants him to admit it, and she's not, and she wants him to tell her so she can shut it down. And he split the final takes between her various reactions because it's supposed to be from Bear's perspective that he doesn't know. He can't tell that she does or does not like him with that question. So he chooses to just bitch out and not ask it.
Okay, I'm gonna get, sorry if this offends anybody. As a dude, and as somebody who I think reads people pretty well, I'm gonna say she's not interested at all. I don't think that a girl who is into you would call a male bartender babe right in front of you. Like she says, oh no, keep the change, babe, or whatever she says to the bartender.
That's
don't
not
think
true.
that would happen. I don't think she would say, ew, when I forget what he says to her near the beginning, but she reacts with like, oh no, like don't fucking say that to me. That's weird. When he says, I have a gift for you. And she
goes, why does that make me nervous? Like, why am I nervous about that? Or something like that.
Like, she does not seem super comfortable with this guy. I think she wants him to say, yes, I like you, so she can say, I really love you as a friend. Thank you for being honest with me. I'm not interested. Like, that's the way that I would take that.
I genuinely believe it. It could go either way here, honestly. As a woman and also reading about how it was shot, I think it could go either way. I think he had the opportunity to say something, and it could have been fine had he been honest about it. Either way, it could have been fine had he been honest about it. And I will say the bartender babe thing, that's an NA. I wouldn't flag that. Just you for future reference, like that's not.
Well, you shouldn't like objectify male bartenders, Mackenzie. That's what I would say to you.
I mean, I'm kind of a flirt. I apologize.
Okay, so we segued kind of like you came back toward the original point because you said like he's a fucking dumbass or whatever, and he's just like the worst piece of shit.
I just think it could have been resolved either way, is what I'm saying. Whether she liked him or not, she could have said, you're a really good friend of mine and I care about you, but I care about you as a friend. Or she could have said, you know what, let me think about it. I honestly haven't thought about you that way. Like it could change our dynamics of our friendship or whatever it is. Or she could have been like, yes, oh my God, I like you too. The point is, any of those would have been better than this shit. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. The final bear, like the ending, we get our final bear cop out where, well, first we get Ian's death, which we talked about, but then we get the cop out of he realizes the only way to solve this is to kill himself. He takes the gun. He like
can't do it.
Coward in that regard, decides don't want to do that. I'd rather just take pills, eats the pills, and then goes to throw them up, changes his mind again. So in like a 60-second span, he's like wimped out twice on being the good guy.
Yep. 100%. And I think like it's so fucking believable, right? Like it is so, you're like, cool. Yeah. Of course you bitched out again. Of course you did. You know, even though this person you have seen miserable to an extreme, she is trapped. She is miserable. She's angry. She's sad. She's out of control. And on top of that, the entity or version of herself that is with you is insane. So not only are you unhappy and now as a result of this, she's miserable. This was supposedly your friend who you loved and liked romantically. And you now know without a doubt that she's miserable and being tortured, basically. And you still can't do it. You still can't do the right thing. Like,
I thought that's how the movie was going to
useless.
end, of like giving him a redemption moment. I'm glad it didn't though, because I kind of like the
God.
ending we get better. It's more fitting. Like you said, you want to see this character die horribly. So like,
Couldn't wait.
you wimped out. Well, now you're in this. I love the moment where you click, you hear the music playing in the background while he's in the bathroom. You hear the One Wish Willow music. And then he snaps out of it and gets up and goes there. And that look they give each other, like both lead actors, as much as we hate Bear, the actor is doing a great job.
The actor's doing a great job, yeah.
Yeah. That scream in the car after Sarah dies is like horror. That's, again, Hereditary-esque for me, of like great, I am so fucked up psychologically right now from what I just saw. But yeah, that moment of them like looking at each other and it's like, oh, what are you? Like, it's adorable in the weirdest fucked up way.
It's like horrible, adorable rom-com. Like it's like it's like two murderers have found each other, you know, or whatever. Like, yeah, it's terrible. But I like that. I don't know if you noticed this. They're having that moment. They kiss each other. Also, like, she is blood and guts and gore at this point, right? And like the house is a mess and all these terrible things have happened, or whatever. And they kiss, and it actually doesn't last that long. And then he starts to overdose, as we see, because he didn't get around to throwing up the pills. And as she's pulling him aside, she starts sobbing, all these things. Did you see what was playing on the TV?
I don't think so. What was it?
It's a video that she has recorded of him sleeping.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that. That's so cool.
So it's like in this like black and white kind of like, you know, jumping around kind of video behind. So she has this shrine to them. And then she has a video of him sleeping. And it, I think, harkens back to one of the creepier scenes where she's like, I like to watch you sleep, you know, and like
that,
ew.
Yeah, that. That's creepy. If you want to know like what scares me, they say the best horror takes something that's normal everyday stuff and makes you scared of it. You know, like Jaws made people afraid of swimming in the ocean, and like Nightmare on Elm Street made people afraid of going to sleep at night and dreaming. If you want to know what gets me in horror movies, and maybe that's why I've referenced Hereditary 3 times today, just shadows. I don't like walking into a dark room and thinking like out of my peripheral that a darker, like if there's an outline or a silhouette. Yeah. And so there's something like that in Hereditary. There's something in this of like when you can't necessarily see the person in the corner, and that is just so unsettling to me.
I don't love that for sure. Yeah. I think like my problem in horror movies with that typically is like, you can turn on the light. Like, this is so solvable, you know, like this is
okay. Let me say this because that
scene was very creepy. To be clear, that scene was
1000%. I also love that it's followed by like, this is another example of that scream or like fear followed by haha nervous laugh, is when she gets back into bed and he's like gets up to leave and she just yells like, stay, like really angrily,
and she doesn't even open her eyes.
Just like, it's like, you're not fucking going anywhere.
Like,
yeah, that is like, there's some great humor in this. I love when that shop owner at the end is like, what's a One Wish Willow? And you think, oh my God, that's the twist. They weren't even real toys. And then he's like, no, they're right there. That is a great laugh.
That is funny.
But what I was originally trying to transition to was, you talked about turning on the light in a horror movie to solve that problem. I think we're in a day and age now. I am tired of horror movies being written, like screenplays being written, where you have to find a reason where when you're setting something in present day, why the characters don't have cell service, or why their cell phones are missing, or they get broken, or they're in the middle of nowhere. Like, can we just make more movies like this where a scary movie where a cell phone won't fucking save you? I think that is one of the coolest things about this. I mean, there have been others that have done it, but can we just make contemporary horror instead of trying to retread the past or like pretend technology doesn't exist?
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to insert some kind of tool for it to not be able to get you out of the situation, you know, like, and I joke about the lights thing, but like some people are like, oh, they lost power, right? Somebody cut the power. Okay, fine. That's why we don't have lights, but that's not happening in this particular scene. But I think, there are all kinds of scenarios in horror where you have to create some kind of scenario, high tech or low tech, that explains why this can't be solved by something, you know, or it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, you know?
So like, as we're getting close to wrapping up here, I know we've talked about horror as a different experience for you than it is for me. And like, for the record, I don't jump a lot during horror, but I love that feeling of being in suspense. And I do love the initial
You
shock.
feel like you're yeah, it's suspenseful.
Yeah, it's like being on a roller coaster for me. So like, I know I'm fine. I know it's enjoyable. I'm having a good time, but that happens. So my question to you would be, was there anything in this that was unsettling? Maybe it didn't make you jump, but what was the weirdest part of the movie for you?
Yeah. One we didn't talk about is all the cat related stuff. Actually, all of that was terrible, but there was one thing in particular that I hated, which again to me is like another indicator that she's not fine, which was that she slept over. The cat has died seemingly a couple of days ago now, by the way. And he walks into the kitchen in the morning and she has dug the cat up, brought it into the house and put like a little shrine around it and a little card and all these things and like little flowers, and all of it looks rotted and terrible, not just the cat. And she comes in and is like, "Oh no, you were supposed to like it." And it's like, no. In what universe would somebody have liked this? Not only is this like horrible and this cat that died and an animal died, and I'm always upset about that, but I'm also like, dude, she's not fine. Like,
it's one of these instances where, again, I can't take credit for this. I jump on the movie's Reddit thread after I see it and like go through and just read how people are reacting. So some of these thoughts are not original, but somebody said it's kind of this entity that gets shoved into her. You see in that opening sequence where she's kind of being like very like, she's all over the place. She's kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just...
It's like that. It's like that uncanny valley that you were talking about. Like the way she's moving is like almost
when
inhuman.
She's talking, I mean, like the words she's using, like it just seems like she's going all over the place. Like she's being very random. And somebody had pointed out that maybe it's like the cat thing is the first memory that this entity is given of like, well, he lost his cat. He's really upset about it. And then she starts saying out loud, "My cat just died." Oh wait, no, I mean, your cat just died. I'm really sad. And then she's just fixated on the cat.
She's like short circuiting in that first
scene. That's a good word for it. Yeah.
I think that's what's so interesting to me. I remember watching it and going, she's like short circuiting right now. Like she's not fully, I say post transition for a reason. Cause like that next morning when she shows, or the next night she shows up at the door, she's like fully in Nikki at that point, or Nikki 2.0, whatever. Like that doesn't happen right away. Like you do see a physical shift and a shift in her. But like we're saying, it comes in and out. And she even says about herself, she's like, "I'm acting so fucking weird. Like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on?" She's turning back and forth. Like you said, she's saying weird things. And so I just think that she, has not fully transitioned over. And then later, the bits where we see her slipping, it's Nikki, real Nikki, trying to fight for control. And she has clearly done it successfully a few times. That's why the "not me" on the Polaroid, that's why the "no" in the restaurant, that's why the like jumping back in the bed,
stabbing herself in the face with a bottle,
stabbing herself in the bottle at the fucking party, insane. Like she's trying to make it so clear, I am being held against my will. This is not me. And that's the thing. Like if you add all that up, you fucking knew so many ways. And I actually like and wonder about alternate Nikki. If later when she says, after she's killed Sarah and she comes around and she's comforting Bear, in her very eerie way, but she says some shit that calls him out. She is literally like, this is all your fault. Yep. This is your fault. Sarah is your fault. You wished for this, baby. I've got you. Like that. She says all this stuff. And how much of that also feels like real Nikki, right? Of being like, this is your fault. Like, our friend Sarah died because of you. And it's a very interesting moment of like, are they on the same page, fake Nikki and real Nikki, in that moment of,
I can see that.
So I just feel like it's such an interesting progression for her. And then at the end, you talked about the endings, the various possible endings here of like them coming together and being in love and all this stuff. I love that one, that they don't. But two, I love that it feels very Romeo and Juliet to me. It feels very like, here he is dying and she's going to take her own life. And then this one thing kind of changes it. I like that it sort of has a similar feeling to that, but it upends that as well.
Yeah, it's normally you expect kind of one twist at the end of a film like this. I think that they're not necessarily twists, but the ending here, it could have ended
Yeah.
with Bear killing himself. We subvert that.
Mm-hmm.
Could have ended with him, getting the wish, and now they're in love and they're both
Them
just
together.
not even themselves.
Yep.
Could have been that, and then we end on this other thing of her waking up and that her screaming in horror. I love, but one thing I really like, because you're talking about the Nikki of it all, the real Nikki. I love how as soon as she wakes up and Bear is dead on her lap and she was crying over him and about, she just pushes him on the fucking ground. You
She
piece
just
of
shoves
shit.
him off. Well, because she's realized too at this point, like, yes, she tried to appeal to his better angels. He didn't fucking bite. And she's like, this piece of shit. I agree. I love that she just flops him over and screams bloody murder. I mean, I hate this moment for her, of course, because again, about the consent, like all this happened against her will. Her friends, all of her friends are dead. Her core friend group, all of them are dead. She's the only one alive now. And she has to deal with the aftermath. And we don't see that. I think it's great. Also, by the way, I think it's a great moment to cut. And like, you don't really understand what's happening. But he has said, I don't know if you read this, he has said that his next film is supposed to be in the same universe where it's not the primary story, but there's a news story playing on the TV on a ticker about a girl arrested for the murder of all of her friends.
So wait, are you saying though that the sequel is going to have to do with One Wish Willows, or it's just going to be like an Easter egg reference to this story?
He didn't say exactly. He just said it's in the same universe. It's not going to continue that story.
I don't need a One Wish Willow becoming a global pandemic,
like a series.
I don't need a Ring 2, the Ring 2, or Rings.
I don't
like
need
the
that
two
either.
sequels,
I feel like there could be something unrelated that he's telling. I hope. I don't know, but I do think it's interesting to think about that her fate is
she's going to prison.
That she's going to prison, and that she's like, what is she gonna say? What can she say to defend this? There's no explanation that is going to make people understand.
It's one of my favorite things about this film, the types of films like this. And sometimes it's because of low budget, and sometimes it's a strategic purpose. I think of 28 Days Later. When you have a very small cast, and this is just four, I love the dynamics between the four friends in this. He has a crush on her, Sarah has a crush on him, Ian is kind of trying to play nice guy to everyone, but it turns out he's actually sleeping with Nikki. So the dynamic between just having four main characters, it makes the deaths hit so much harder. And I think that's a great move on having a low budget, but also making it higher stakes for these individuals.
Totally. And especially for, I think Sarah hits me pretty hard, because Ian has pissed me off a little bit by the way he's handled the situation. I think on the whole, he's a better dude. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's mishandled it. But Sarah is the most innocent of all of them, in that she has no fucking idea what's going on. And she's just trying to fucking go to art school. And she has clearly liked Bear for a while, and he just hasn't noticed her and whatever. And there's this, you get this hint, this very intentional hint of their potential in the car. You get that moment of, this could maybe be a thing, and they are really good friends, and she obviously likes him and he supports her, and they have this very natural rapport. And then she fucking dies. And then you find out that she got into art school, and she's been hanging on for this moment to find out if she got into her school. And
Andy Richter's going to be devastated.
Andy Richter is going to be devastated.
He just lost his entire fucking staff.
I also think,
who's going to work at the store? There's no other teenagers in this town.
It took me a second to register that. Oh, it's so true. That's why he's devastated, not his daughter. The store. It's very busy.
It's a local business.
It's very busy. They've established. Yeah. No, I just think that one hits really much harder for me. And I think it's kind of annoying that he opens her letter. I know that's like, she didn't even get to see it. Fuck you.
I wonder what if it said like, sorry, we regret to inform you didn't get any. He'd be like, okay, we're all good.
That's so fucked up. I mean, it would hurt less, but it's fucked up.
For the record, I would, if I were 20, I would date Sarah instead of Nikki. I don't need my girlfriend calling male bartenders babe. I want the goth girl with the piercings and the black lipstick. Give me that if I'm 20 years old,
I mean, the aesthetic, I totally see the aesthetic. I think we're learning that Lamar's a little sensitive about girls who are flirty. We've figured this out, apparently. All right. Well, I mean, on the whole, I think we've established like this is a very well-made film. Again, like especially for its budget. Like he is making movies like he's been doing it his whole life, and I think that's the thing that's so impressive to me about this like very indie film. I wanted to share a couple quick nuggets about like the insanity of this budget. This is actually a film that made more in its second weekend, increasing its theater count less than 2%, which is pretty rare. It was a very small theater release, but it increased 40% in its second weekend, increased another 15% its third weekend. And then overall, by the time it was in its third weekend, it had grossed 150 times its production budget and over 10 times what Focus Features had paid to acquire it after it released.
That hardly ever happens anymore. You don't see films increasing in popularity and box office week after week anymore.
For reference for people, a 40% decrease in a second week is considered a solid hold. This had a 40% a 40% increase in its second week. So this is wild growth, just word of mouth based growth. So I do think it's very telling that you can make these incredible low budget character driven stories and not be the most experienced and most financed director in the world. And people will go see your fucking movie. You know, people want to be at the movies. So that's me on my soapbox about like go to the theater. Original. People love the theater, make something original. It can be done. It's been done, you know, a couple times this summer already. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, the box office numbers tie into my worst fact of the week from IMDb, because we talked about how little budget this has. And obviously it had to have investors. It had to have a production company. And they were the ones who said, here's how much your budget is. Jason Blum made a reported $17 million on this film. So off of the 500K, 400K or whatever that he's like, here, I have money, have some of this and go make a movie. He made $17 million. So doing the real work, but thank you for producing this. But still, it's a little crazy. Producers or funding, at least, you know, doing their thing. So maybe he's an EP.
I feel like you would like Jason Blum though, because I looked at his history and he does this kind of thing for small time, low budget indie horror films, and he has found ones that have this kind of formula and finance them. Yes, he's made a ton of money, but he seems to be focused on like indie horrors. Like that's his shtick.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a Blumhouse movie, there's like a 60% chance that I'm going to go see it in theaters. There's probably a 100% chance I will watch it at home. So I will always watch. Sure. I'm saying this all with like a grain of irony and like silliness, but like I just found that like, wow, must be nice to have a little money to invest on occasion and just get a crazy kickback for just being the money guy. But who knows?
Just being the money guy. Yeah. That's a good gig to have. Okay, well, this reminds me though, I haven't asked you in a second. What would be your golden garnish? I think I know the answer.
You can already guess. Go ahead, guess what it is.
It's our girl. It's Nikki. Like she's just blowing it out. I don't think there's another answer, to be honest. And I think that's saying a lot because again, we've talked about the other performances being really
talked about really the director.
Strong. Yeah.
Curry Barker. Yeah. You could say Curry Barker. Like I think those are probably the top two, and like the other actors in this are great. But those two, we didn't really talk too much about it. I think the score in this, like it's almost just like this single like 3-note synth throughout. It's very just in the background. It's not really like, but it's kind of haunting in a way. So shout out to that person. But yeah, Inde, if she doesn't have an Oscar nomination in the next 5 years, I will be very surprised.
I would be too. I mean, and I would be rooting for her this year. I mean, there are great films out. I've seen a ton of great stuff that people should be nominated for, but this is especially for a young actress where this is one of her first roles. Her commitment to this bit, as it were, is really incredible. I agree. So, alrighty. Well, that brings us to what is your rating?
Real quick, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but quick yes, no. Does this movie have the best piece of Hansel and Gretel fan fiction you've ever heard? I didn't clock it the first time. I was like, okay, she's saying something freaky. Yeah. And then the second time I paid real attention, I'm like, what the fuck is happening in her fan fiction? It's like incest and they're in the witches and it's so strange.
That was written by Curry Barker's dad. He said he wanted the voice of whatever she said in her writing to sound different than his. So he asked him to write her little monologue there, and he did. So we got to give a shout out to his dad. His dad wrote that little monologue. And yeah, I think it's certainly the best one
I
I've
need to
ever
find
heard.
his blog. I feel like there's probably some good stuff worth exploring on there. Anyway, all that to say, I'm not going to go. We've talked so long about this. Clearly, I love it. It's not Citizen Kane. Honestly, Citizen Kane isn't even a 10 for me. I don't know what a 10 out of 10. Pulp Fiction. It's not Pulp Fiction.
We don't have to talk shit about Citizen Kane to get to your rating. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can get there. It's fine.
But I for what this is trying to accomplish, it's damn near perfect. So I'll give it a 9.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got an 8 on IMDb. I'm going to go a point above that. I think it's a 9.
Okay, shit. Now I feel self-conscious.
You don't have to adjust. What's your gut check?
I'm not saying. I think my gut check is a 7.5.
Okay.
My problem, like, I have a very hard time with Letterboxd ratings, and I was trying to translate my Letterboxd ratings, but for those that don't know, Letterboxd is out of 5 rather than 10, and I do really bad on a scale out of 5. I don't think there's enough options. So you get into like 0.25s to make it make sense. So I had to translate mine, and I think it's like a 7.5 because I think it is just a very well-made movie. I think it is a very well-made film. I think the performances are really profound, really good. It's like I want something to scare me. I want to go to something and be told that I'm going to be scared and then actually be scared. And like, that sounds whiny and annoying, but I just mean like, I want to go to one of these and feel a deep sense of suspense. And I want it, like you were describing the goosebumps, and I was just blown away. I was like, that sounds amazing. That sounds like an amazing experience. And I just don't have that. And like, I kind of want to, but I also think it's the thing that disconnects me from normal reactions to this movie. You know?
That's what I was going to say. There's definitely, my score has a very obvious piece of, it's personal preference. It's what the kind of movies I like to enjoy. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's impossible to be completely objective about films. So, or any opinions really. So
I agree. All right. Well, even if you're not a horror fan, the takeaway is this is a really good movie and you should see it. So,
and don't take the plot of Can't Hardly Wait too seriously. Just because a girl has the same Pop-Tart as you doesn't mean that she's going to fall for you and that you have any right to be her lover. Just throwing that out there.
It's both like related and not. So I love that for us that we closed on that note. All right, kids, this was fun. Thanks for joining us. Come back next week for our penultimate summer blockbuster, which will be Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg gives us a sci-fi film, and we're going to talk about it.
We won't spoil how we feel, but it's going to be an interesting one.
It's going to be interesting. Okay, but, in the meantime,
follow us on our socials. We drink and we watch things, mainly on Instagram. Leave us comments or DMs, and we will mention you on the pod. And you got a ton of love on your drink recipe for Mortal Kombat 2, Katana's Revenge. I saw a bunch of comments on here from Pembertonia specifically asking do you want to plug where the glass is available?
Yes. So I sent him the link. Maybe we'll get a link in bio set up or something, because I am going to show more of our recipes, including my glassware. So I don't know. But that one is from Pottery Barn, and it is a seasonal edition for them. It is a Halloween thing that they do every Halloween. So yeah, go check it out. It's a skeleton glass at Pottery Barn. They also have like a whole series, a whole set. They have all.
Fuck yeah, Pottery Barn. Because when I think spooky Halloween, I think Pottery Barn.
You joke. They have the
I gotta go
best
check it out.
Halloween.
Yeah.
No, I have a ton of Pottery Barn Halloween shit. And if you know me, you know I have a ton of great Halloween decor. A lot of it is from Pottery Barn. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So shout out to everybody that interacted. We had a bunch of comments on there, and thank you for sharing that beautiful drink. It looks gorgeous.
I will share today's as well. I'm going to be better about this, you guys. I know we've said it over and over and over, but I have all these pictures on my phone of our cocktails, and I promise I am sharing them. Anywho's, for now, though, go have a drink and watch a thing.
Cheers.